Well, good evening, my dears. So, how are you all? Hope you're good. You guys good. Take care of yourself first of all. So, last class we have discussed. We have learned one beautiful poem written by William Shakespeare. Right. All the world's a stage. The poem which I love like anything. And today's class, right? We will deal with the next section, that is prose. Third unit prose we will deal, right? What is the topic of this prose? It is in celebration of being alive. What is it? In celebration of being alive, written by a famous renowned a doctor by his profession, and his name is Christian Bernard, Dr. Christian Bernard. And the topic of this prose is in celebration of being alive. Right. Speaking frankly, today we are at days, right, a time which we do not have any certainty for our future because of this pandemic, because of this protocol, COVID protocol, right? But at the same time, you just think about some 50 years or 60 years back, how the people were, how the people they lived. If such kind of situation happens, how they survived, right? That is an important thing we need to notice. So this, what is the specialty about this person, the doctor, Christian Bernard? He's a renowned scholar. He's a renowned, famous person in the field of heart. He's a best known or well known cardiologist, and he's the first person who performed the heart transplant surgery. He's the first person who successfully did the heart transplant, right, in the year 1967. After a series of experiment, he successfully did this surgery in the year 1967. Okay, right. So this beautiful lesson talks about the important thing: survive our life. We need to celebrate each and every second, thinking that we are still alive. You just think about every time or every day news, what we are hearing. It gives us such a fear because there is no certainty about our future, whether we will open our eyes the next day or not, because of this pandemic COVID protocol. There is no certainty for our life. So what is permanent today that we are living, that is permanent, that's all that we need to believe, right? So the living itself, it is a celebration. Right, that we are living, right? Even for that we need to celebrate. Even a lot of people, they lived yesterday, but they are not survived today, but still we are survived, still we are breathing. So thinking about that, we should celebrate it each and every second. It's a gift from our God, right? So this lesson talks about, it is an extract from his speech, like the poem All the World's a Stage. It is an extract from the play, Shakespeare's play. What is the play name? As You Like It. Same way, it was there in Act 2 and Scene 7, starting from line 138. Same way, the celebration of being is also an extract from his speech. Okay, fine. Let us move on to the section, right? So I'll read out that author introduction. Listen, my dear. It is there in the page number 69. In my book, it is page number 69. I think I have an old edition. So in my thing, it is page number 69. It is given the author's introduction. I'll read out the author introduction. Just listen to it, and later we will move on to the section. Right? Fine. Christian Nathaniel Bernard was born in rural South Africa in 1922 to poor parents as their fourth child. So this man, right? He is the fourth in number, right? Born in South Africa, right, in the year 1922. to a poor parent. So to a poor parent in 1922 in South Africa, he was the fourth child of the family. He evinced a great interest in his academics and was determined to pursue medicine after the loss of his brother to a cardiac ailment. So what made him to do, or what made him to choose the profession of a cardiologist? It is all the thing. His brother, one of his brothers, died of heart problem. So that made him, that forced him, right, to become a cardiologist. After that, nobody should die because of this cardiac problem, right? So thinking that, right, he became a cardiologist, a renowned cardiologist. He won many scholarships and pursued his higher studies in specializing in cardiac surgery. So he did a lot of high studies, especially in cardiac surgeries. As a cardiac surgeon, Bernard focused on a congenital and complicated cardiac conditions for which there was no cure at that time. So what his profession, he was depth in that cardiologist specialist. So at that time, the treatment for cardiology, treatment for the heart, it is very difficult, right? And it is very tough for a person to undergo a surgery, especially in heart. But this person, this Christian Bernard, he take it as an a challenge. He did a lot of surgeries, right? Even at the time itself, it was very difficult to do a heart surgery. But this fellow, with an interest, with a high stuff knowledge, he started a lot of experiments, and almost all his experiments became a successful one, right? So after experimenting with the heart transplantations on animals, he performed the world's first human to human transplant in the year 1967. So if a person want to do something, especially in medical field, they will test those things on animals. They will use animals for testing purpose. So same way, the heart transplant was successfully did on animals. After completing that one, a successful result came out with the animals. So the first human to human heart transplant was started in 1967. So he's the first person who did the surgery, and it became successful. So he gained worldwide recognition and went on to develop many surgery techniques which are being adopted till date. So after that, he became very famous, right? So very famous word you come across in the second supplement reader, Life of Pi, Jan Martel. So after that, the Life of Pi only became very famous. Same way, after the heart transplant surgery, this Christian Bernard, he became very famous, and still he developed a lot of techniques in the field of cardiac surgeries, and which they are still following. What he followed, what he started, and still now people or doctors, they are following his techniques in the field of cardiology, right? So Bernard has penned 14 books. So he has written 14 books and 235 scientific articles that have been published in reputed journals. So 14 books he has written, and 235 scientific articles which are published in a lot of journals. And some of his books are One Life, 50 Ways to a Healthy Heart, The Best Medicine, The Faith. So these are all his important or famous works. A pioneer in cardiac surgery, he obtained a doctorate in medicine from the University of Cape Town. So he obtained a dignified degree, of doctorate from the University of Cape Town. And this was followed by 11 honorary doctorates. Even to get one honorary doctorate is very difficult. Think about, he got 11 honorary, made a doctorate in medicine, right? Bestowed upon him by universities all over the world. So a lot of universities all over the world, they came forward and they honored him a doctorate degree. He has also received 36 international awards. 36 international awards. International means worldwide. So even to get a national award, it is very difficult. And think about, he received 36 international awards. So how fame this fellow he got. In his late years, he established the Christian Bernard Foundation to serve and promote the cause of underprivileged children throughout the world, and died at the age of 78 in the year 2001. Right. So he died at the age of 78 in the year 2001. And he started a foundation called Christian Barnard Foundation, which was to serve only for the underprivileged children, especially heart oriented or regarding such thing. So this all is background about the Christian Barnard, right? We will straight away move to the prose section, right, my dears? So page number 67, starting from 67, my book it is given, right? So if you turn to page number 67, they have given on picture. Listen it. There are several physically challenged people who have lived a successful and meaningful lives. Here are a few personalities who have fought great odds and lived a life of blazing achievements. Let's share what we know about each of them. Complete the table below. So they have listed out, listen here, they have listed out a lot of personalities, right? Physically challenged persons, they have listed over here. And in what field, right, they became famous. That you need to find it out, right? Okay, we'll move on to the lesson, right? We all know that Christian Barnard was the first doctor to perform a heart transplant surgery. Here we have an extract of his speech wherein he narrates an experience which has changed his perspective of life altogether. Let's find out what led to such a dramatic transformation. So here we have 14 points. Yes, 13 points. We have 13 points. So what made him to realize, right, the essence of the life that he has given clearly. So because of an incident that taught him the real essence of the life. What is that incident? Right, okay, fine. I'll read out the first point and I'll tell you. More and more, as I near the end of my career as a heart surgeon, my thoughts have turned to be the consideration of why people should suffer. Suffering seems so cruelly prevalent in the world today. Do you know that the 125 million children born this year, 12 million are unlikely to reach the age of 1 and another 6 million will die before the age of 5. And one of the rest, many will end up as mental or physical cripples. So he started with the lamentation. More and more as I near the end of my career. That means he is nearing the end. He is nearing his death. End of his life. He felt, he understood a lot of things during this particular age, right? The old age. So he always a thought comes to his mind. What is the thought? It's why people they are suffering. Why people they undergo a lot of suffering, right? So when he got this thought, he is nearing his career. That means he is nearing the death, very old, right? And end of his profession also. So at that time he got a thought. What is the thought? It is why people they are suffering like anything. Why they have undergo such a kind of suffering. And he has given a clear, statistical report about the children. What is the report? It is. The report says, what is the report it is? So, 125 million children born every year, especially that year. How many children? 125 million children born that year. Among them, 12 million children, they die before the first birthday. How many children? Among 125 million children, 12 million children, they die before their first birthday. How pathetic it is. And another 6 million will die before the age of 5. So 12 million children, they die before the age, before their first birthday. And 6 million children, they die before the age of 5 or 6. Right? And many children, they became mental retarded or physical cripples, problems in their body. Many children. Some children they became mentally retarded, right, spastic, and some children they became physically challenged, right. Second point, my gloomy thoughts probably stem from an accident I had a few years ago. One minute I was crossing the street with my wife after a lovely meal together, and the next minute a car had hit me and knocked me into my wife. She was thrown into the another lane and struck by a car coming from the opposite direction. So what he talks about? An important incident that happened in his life. A gloomy incident. What is a gloomy? A dark incident happened in his life. What is that incident it is? So one day, especially after he had a very good food meal along with his wife. They were walking in the road, and accidentally he was hit by a car, and he was knocked on his wife. She was thrown into the other side of the land road, and at that time a car from the opposite direction, it hit on his wife. So both of them, they got severely damaged. Both of them, they were struck down. Right. Third point. During the next few days in the hospital, I experienced not only agony but fear, but also anger. I could not understand. See, why my wife and I had to suffer. I had 11 broken ribs and a perforated lung. My wife had a badly fractured shoulder over and over. I asked myself, why should this happen to us? I had work to do after all. There were patients waiting for me to operate on them. My wife had a young baby who needed her care. See how pathetic situation? Though he is a doctor, but still God tests him through an accident. We may think that God tests only the bad people. Never. God tests the good people also. Right? In one movie, a famous dialogue comes, right? Okay, finally, we will talk about later. So, because of this accident, what happened to these couples? So, he had 11 broken ribs. Broken ribs. Ribs, this part, we have that lungs, near to the lungs, we have ribs, So, 11 ribs got damaged, and his lungs also completely fractured, completely damaged, perforated, damaged. My wife had badly fractured his shoulder. So thinking about his wife, she had a fractured shoulder. Her shoulder fractured badly. Over and over, I asked myself, why should this happen to us? So often he thought, right, why this thing happened to us? I'm a doctor. God knows that, right? I'm saving a lot of lives, right? Many elder, young, child, infant, many lives I'm saving. But still, why I should suffer? So this thought comes to his mind. And see, what is the next thing it is? I had to work to do. After all, there were parents waiting for me to operate on them. And what is the second thought comes to his mind, He thought, a lot of patients are waiting for me. They want some operation that I have to perform on them. People, they are waiting for me. But where I am hospitalized. Even I am on the bed. So, he thought, why this kind of thing is happening to me? Right. He was deeply worried about it. And moreover, the next day is very pathetic. My wife had a young baby who needed the care. So his wife, right, she, they have one small kid. And moreover, both of them, they were in hospital, means who will take care of the child, who will take care of the infant. Very difficult one. So that's why, so along addition to this also added, right? His wife, she had to take care of the young baby. Fourth point. My father, had he still been alive, he would have said, my son, is God's will. That's the way God tests you. Suffering ennobles you, makes you a better person. So suppose if his father is alive, definitely he would have told him, what? My dear, don't worry. You are suffering. It's all because of God. God tests you. Right? And what he says, suffering ennobles you. Suffering will make you still a good person. Makes you a better person. Right? Suppose if you're in suffering and if a person comes to you and if he says, don't worry, God tests you. What will be your reply? Definitely you'll get angry. Definitely you'll scold on the person who advised you. Because already you are suffering. Why you are getting an advice from another person saying that God tests you, God makes you a better person? No use in the, because already you are suffering. Right? Same way, his father, if he is alive, definitely would have told him, what he would have told him? My son, God tests you. So the suffering will make you a better person. The sufferings will still makes you a good person. He would have told you. But as a doctor, fifth point, I see nothing noble in patients thrashing around in a sweat-soaked but mind clouded in agony, nor I can see any nobility in crying of a lonely child in a ward at night. So as a patient, as an inpatient, the doctor, he looks at the patient, how he looks. What is the use of a human being right, on the bed, sweat soaked, completely of sweating, lying all the time in the bed. And moreover, a child, a lonely child, crying all through the night. What is the use in it? Why God, gives suffering to these kind of people? Why a person has to suffer? Even why a child has to suffer? Right? Lot of thoughts comes to his mind. He was much worried about his life after the accident. So before the accident, he couldn't, come across such kind of a thought. But once he come across an accident, once he met with an accident, so that accident made him these many thoughts. Okay, fine. Sixth point. In those days, they didn't have a sophisticated heart surgery. I have always found the sufferings of children particularly heartbreaking, especially because of their total trust in doctors and nurses. They believe you are going to help them. If you can't, they accept their fate. They go through mutilating surgery and afterwards they don't complain. See what he says. In those days, they didn't have a sophisticated surgery because in the primitive times, some 100 years back or 75 years back, now we have a very good high-tech surgery equipments we have. MRI scan, CT scan, a lot of scans we have. But at that time, there was no much sophisticated, a convenient surgery was happened at that time, was performed at that time. I have always found the suffering of children particularly heartbreaking, especially because they told trust in doctors and nurses. And this fellow, this Dr. Christian Bernard, he felt very bad, heartbreaking, because the children as well as the patient, they will trust only on the doctors and the nurses. No, because I come to hospital. Definitely, doctors, they will do something and they will save my life. A patient will think. And the child, what the child will think, I came to the hospital, definitely the doctor uncle will do something and they will save my life. Right. They believe you are going to help them. And the patients as well as the child, they will believe, and the children, they will believe, definitely the doctors as well as the nurse, they are going to help me. Right? They are going to give a good treatment. And I'll recover from my illness. They will think in such a way. If you can't, they accept their fate. But if it a failure one, they will think, okay, fine, let it be. They tried a lot, but it is not possible. They go through mutilating surgery and afterwards they don't complain. And they will surrender themselves at the last level. They will surrender themselves for, a risky surgery. After the risky surgery, they will never complain on doctors or nurses. And they will think it is my fate. It is our fate. They will think in such a way. Right. So up to the 6th point, if you see, he talks about the suffering, especially as a patient, right? How the patient and how the children, they will suffer. So throughout this 6th point, if you see, these things he spoke much. Sufferings only. And from the 7th point, the prose starts. What is the thing? The thing it is, he has given one story that made him to realize what is the life. I'll just read it out. Lesson ideas, page number 68. The 7th point. One morning, several years ago, I witnessed what I call the Grand Prix of Capstone Red Cross Children's Hospital. It opened my eyes to the fact that I was missing something in all my thinking about suffering. Something basic that was full of solace for me. Listen here. An incident that made him to think life that we are living, it is a gift of God. What incident and where it happened? So the incident has happened in a place called Capstone. Capstone's Red Cross Children's Hospital. And he called what incident that happened, he called it as a Grand Prix. Grand Prix, it is a car race. So, in a place called Capstone's, and what is the hospital name? Red Cross Children Hospital. So, inside the Red Cross Children Hospital, there happened a race. And he called that race, he compared that race to Grand Prix. Grand Prix, it is a car race. What race was there? So that race inside the hospital, it opened his eyes to the fact that I was missing something, all my thinking about suffering. So that incident, right, opened his eye. Right? Why suffering? Why we are suffering? Something basic that was full of solace for me. That gave him, a solace, a completed one. What is the thing? Right? He undergone the thing, that is, he gave or he received a comfort by looking after that race. What is the race? It is given the 8th point. What happened there that morning? See, it was one morning. A nurse had left a breakfast trolley unattended. Do you get my point? A breakfast trolley was unattended. So there was a trolley. With the trolley only, they will serve the food as well as they will give treatment for the patients, inpatients. So it was left such a way. And very soon this trolley was commanded. Soon after, this trolley was taken by two children. Who are they? See, he has used one a word, beautiful word, intrepid crew of two. Crew means what? You know, a crew, right? The person who operates something, they are called as crew. A driver and a mechanic. See, a driver and a mechanic. So the trolley was taken care by two person or two children, two boys. One boy, he acted as a driver, and another boy, he acted as a mechanic. So mechanic, you think that a mechanic, it is not something who have a spinner or such thing. No. Here, the mechanic is the person who gives a force to pull or to push a trolley. Okay, fine. So the mechanic provided the motor power by galloping. Underline the word called galloping. Galloping means with a force. Along behind the trolley with his head down, while the driver seated on the mower deck. See, listen here, my dears. They have given on picture, but the picture is given wrong. I'll tell you. I think this is the trolley, right? And this is the trolley. And this person, we call him as the mechanic, right? And this person, we call him as a driver. See, if you see the mechanic, do you think that mechanic is the man who have, no, he has no, a spanner or a screwdriver or hammer, nothing like that, right? Mechanic means what? A person here who pushed the trolley, he is said to be a mechanic, right? Because he is giving the force to push the trolley. Okay, fine. With his head down, while the driver sits on the mower deck. See, this is said to be this place is said to be the mower deck. See, the another boy, he sits on the mower deck, right? Okay, fine. Sat on the with one hand and steered by scraping his foot on the floor. So one boy, he acted as a driver, and one boy, he acted as a mechanic. So if you see what is what happened for this mechanic as well as the driver, that is clearly listed out down. The mechanic, see, he is a mechanic, right? He is a blind boy, and the boy who sits on the mower deck, right? He has only one arm. See, with one arm, he just hold the part, and with the help of the leg, he is turning this side and that side. But this fellow, he has two arms, right? Where he has no eyes. This fellow, the mechanic, is a blind, and the driver, he has only one arm. Okay, fine. 9th point. They put on a quiet show that day. Judging by the laughter and shouts of encouragement from the rest of the patients, it was a much better entertainment than anyone puts out the Indianapolis 500 car race. There was a grand finale of the scattered pace and silverware before the nurse and the ward sister caught with them, scolded them, and put them back to the bed. See what they have given. What happened in that Red Cross Children's Hospital? There was a car race. So he called the car race as Grand Prix, right? And now he called as Indianapolis 500 car race. This Indianapolis 500 car race, it is a race, right? Okay, fine. These two boys, right, they were using this trolley, and they were enjoying, they were playing. So by looking at this incident, the inpatients, they were looking at these two boys' actions, they felt so happy with it, right? And judging by the laughter and shouts of encouragement from the rest of the patients. So every patient, they are encouraging them. Okay, you just go fast, you turn this side, you turn that side. So every patient, they are encouraging these two boys. It was such a much better entertainment than anyone else. So if you see this race, it goes beyond the Indianapolis 500 car race, right? If you see the race, in the car race, especially, people will encourage and the race people. Same way, the patients, they are encouraging these two boys. Okay, fine. And they were so happy with this. And finally, what happened? There was a grand finale of Scattered Pace. At the end, what happened? These two boys, they were, they went to an extent. And what happened? The plates, the silver plates inside, you just see the silver